It is here and it is spreading. That's the word from one health official about the swine flu outbreak. Here's the latest. At least 152 people have now died of swine flu in Mexico. There are 71 confirmed cases in the U.S., none in Oregon or Washington. At least 7 people have been hospitalized. There have been no U.S. deaths so far, but the head of the Centers for Disease Control says he fully expects that to change.
And a Portland company is closely watching the swine flu outbreak and how it is spreading. As K2's Bob High shows us, it's a one-of-a-kind business that specializes in training people to cope with disaster.
String together a handful of laptops, and Crisis Simulations International turns them into cities, hospitals, entire governments.
So, Bob, in this situation, you're the mayor.
Messages deliver news of a deadly contagious disease. Fake newscasts produced a year and a half ago
that clusters of a very infectious flu are
mirror the real thing unfolding now.
The World Health Organization says the outbreak is edging closer to pandemic level now.
During the past 5 years, Dennis Damore and Chris Hatzi, through Portland-based Crisis Simulations International, have trained more than 200 organizations, from governments to fire departments and some businesses, how to handle an emergency just like the spreading swine flu.
There are so many variables that it's difficult to predict where it'll go. But I think one of the interesting things that I've seen that was a little unexpected for me was how rapidly this got turned up.
At the start 5 years ago, their first training session used old technology in Portland to simulate an explosion and mass casualties on the Steel Bridge. What began in 2004 here at the Steel Bridge was funded by private donations and eventually a state grant. When that ran out, those behind the effort decided there was a need for this, started a private company. Now they're on the verge of getting a patent for the software they've developed. The government's admission that it can only slow the swine flu spread brings concerns.
A lot of the pandemic funding and preparedness dollars have focused on metropolitan areas, and rural Oregon and those folks in the suburbs are at risk.
Risk this company knows is real. In Portland, Bob High, K2 News.
And the people at Crisis Simulation say one sign of this preparedness disparity, it's held a number of training sessions locally and has one ongoing with the Portland Police Bureau's sergeants to handle active shooting incidents, but it hasn't done any training in rural areas in Oregon. Stay with K2 News for continuing coverage of the swine flu outbreak. Coming up in our next half hour, the On Your Side investigators take a look at what makes the swine flu different from the other outbreaks we've warned you about in years past, such as bird flu and SARS.